I start, I'd like you to picture in your mind a board member of a national organization, someone who speaks at national conferences and hosts national events. Who are you picturing? What do they look like? How old are they? Well, that person is a young person, and in fact, that person is me. And why can't it be? I'm Mary, I'm 16 years old, and I'm from Cork. I'm also a board member on Oireachtas. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the importance of young people being involved in decision-making, and why it's particularly important in relation to the climate conversation. Thank you to the committee for inviting us here today and bringing us into the conversation, not outside, but inside the gates of Leinster House. Exactly 30 years ago, in 1992, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child was ratified here in Ireland. Within that, Article 12 states that every child has the right to freely express their views in all matters affecting them, depending on their maturity. But now, 30 years later, it's still somewhat of a novelty seeing young people included in spaces like the Oireachtas. Let's hope today marks a real change to this. In the last few years, Ireland is taking great steps in including young people in decision-making, but there's still so much more work to be done. When you're a young person, you're in this gray area, not being considered a child, but also not being considered an adult either. We are deemed capable enough to decide on big decisions about our future, like what we want to do as a career. We spend the rest of our lives doing as a career, but we can get jobs, we can pay taxes, we can apply for a driver's license, but on the other hand, we are not considered mature enough when it comes to other matters also affecting our future, like who we want leading our country, or to have a real say in issues that are really important to us, like the environment and climate action. Young people today live in this paradox, not understanding what role to play. Not all, but many adults see young people under the age of 18 as incapable of understanding enough to be involved in national decision-making. I'm 16, so I can't vote, for example. But I mean, what is 2 years? Wouldn't it be better to gradually introduce a young person into decision-making? This would enable us to engage and become more active citizens in our own country and grow into understanding how the world works. There are 18-year-olds today who are completely lost because they went from being considered too young and immature to being fully grown adults in a day with all the responsibilities that come with it. It's a huge transition to make, and young people aren't properly prepared for it. It's true that young people are the next generation of leaders shaping this country in the future, but we are also citizens now and are important for what we can bring to the table today. Being able to vote at 16 would bring issues like the climate crisis much more sharply into consideration. It would lead to richer decision-making, communication, and change. It's not as if young people are ignorant about what we're saying. We do our research. We look into things, particularly those things that we care deeply about enough, like climate action. After all, it was young people who put climate action at the top of the world agenda. We might be young, but when we're passionate about something, we put in the work. For example, take Oireachtas E-Collective, many of whom are here today. The E-Collective is a group of young people in Oireachtas who dedicate their time to spreading awareness on climate justice. They've recorded podcasts, hosted conferences, and advised on Oireachtas climate justice programs. The E-Collective is driven by the principle, bringing people with us and leaving no one behind. This means focusing on education, raising awareness, and bringing people into the conversation rather than being in conflict. And it also means including everyone, including each one of us here. No matter your background, it's about focusing on climate justice, how we can make sure tackling the climate crisis does not impact certain groups and communities unfairly. Young people can't be put in this box as if we're all the same. We're a whole sector of different opinions. For decision makers to include a more diverse set of perspectives would lead to more diverse informed decisions. I'm not saying young people are all knowing. No one is. We all keep learning throughout our lives, whether you're 16 or 60. I started off by saying that it's been 30 years since the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child was ratified here in Ireland. 30 years, and it's only now that we're beginning to see changes being made. Now think ahead, 30 years from now. All of us young people today will be the same age as many of you here. Maybe we'll be sitting where you guys are. And in 30 years will take us to the year 2050, the year where all our climate commitments are aiming at. What will that world look like? That's a whole 3 decades of possibility. Let's make sure we make it count. It's time to actually start seeing young people as young people and not children, for who we are and what we can bring to the table today, and not just who we'll be in the future. It's time to start listening, really listening, and not just hearing. If you give young people the chance, you never know where they might go. Thank you.